Hi there. Today we will start the first project on Alteryx, and I would like to give you good orientation about Alteryx in case you haven't seen this software before or you have limited use on Alteryx. Alteryx, it's a software that can build up a workflow where you don't have to repeat the same process on data cleansing and analysis whenever you make any file. What does it mean? Whenever we open a file on Excel, we can do some sorting, some analysis, some pivot tables, and then maybe graphs. But if we have another data set that we need to upload on Excel, we have to repeat all the steps again. But Alteryx will save our workflow like we building macros on Excel. We do the Alteryx workflow that can do the same job. So whenever we get a new data set, we don't have to repeat all the steps we do it on the old one, but we can use the workflow. The good thing that we can save the workflow and use it for later use, or we can send our workflow to a colleague in our office who can make use of it. Alteryx is very good in data cleansing, in data analysis, but it's very limited in reporting. So when you talk about reporting and visualization, Tableau and Power BI are more popular than Alteryx. And when you open Alteryx for the first time, you see here there is the this menu on the left side, the configuration menu. It will show you how to deal with every tool, how to put the settings for the tool, how to put the label for the tool, and so on. And on the top here, we see all the menus for all the tools. We call it tool palette that has all the tools where we can drag any tool from here and we can drag it like this and we put it on the dashboard and we start working on our workflow. What I'm going to do today in this project is I will work on the first menu here, in, out. And here you can see that we have the input data tool, we have the output data tool, and we have browsing. And those what I'm going to work on today. Second, I will do some kind of preparation so we can maybe do some filtering, data cleansing, selecting a record number. And the good thing that you can click on any one of those tools and it gives you like a short help that can screen. And this help screen will help you to understand what is the meaning of this tool and how to use it. And here we will use also for joining files. We will use this tool for joining two different files. And then we will use here the date time on parse menu, which can help us to change the format of a string field into date field. So we can do that. And if you get a chance, you can work at your own to discover all these menus. They are very good. And Alteryx has been used now for many years with big companies because it's very useful for big data set. We know in Excel, we are limited to a certain number of records, like maybe 1 million something. But in Alteryx, we can use millions of records in any file, and Alteryx will handle all the data analysis and presentation. In this project, as you can see, I put a title, Suspect Vendors Workflow. And this is number one that you need to put in any project, that you need to put the title for that project, or let me say the title for the workflow. So how to create this one? You go to documentation, and there is comment here. If you drag the tool comment, and then you enlarge it, and then you can write here anything you want, and this will show up in the tool comment. And this is what I did. So here I created a comment and I call it Suspect Vendors Workflow. And then I changed the background color. And this is what you need to do. And whenever you do anything here, you will find there is a small tick on the bottom, which calls apply. So whatever you do here, you need to click apply so you can see it on the screen. And this suspect vendor workflow, it has 4 steps. The first one, we need to upload the vendors list. Second, we need to upload the consolidated screen list. And both of those files are CSV files that will be given to you on Brightspace. So if you go to Brightspace, you'll be able to see those two files. To give you a briefing about those two files, there is a long list of vendors in the first one. But in the second one, there is a screening list for the vendors that are permitted to do some business in the US and those who are blacklisted. So we need to combine those two lists together, and this would be the third one, where we will have the active suspect vendors, those who are not allowed to be dealt with, but they already have been doing some business here. And once we do this, we need to make the output in an Excel file. At the end of the day, you need to save this workflow, upload it on Brightspace along with the Excel file that you will get it from here. And I will show you at the end of this video how to do both of them. So let us go first for the first part. And here we need to upload the first file. So to upload it, you go first to in, out, and then you drag the input, the tool here. And once you drag it, you will see that the file will show up here. Of course, in your screen, you might not see the same as I do here because you need to set up a connection. What do I mean by setting the connection? You need to get the file from any place that you have in your desktop. So my recommendation is if you are using your personal computer, make sure to get the files from Brightspace, save it somewhere in your computer, and then drag it from your computer and put it here, and then select the file. If you are working on our campus lab, you can copy the same file from Brightspace on our campus lab machine, put it in the desktop of the campus lab machine, and then drag it there. So either way, it should work. And remember, it's a CSV file. And once we open up this file, we need to see what's inside. So to see what's included in the file, you need to drag this browse and put it here. And when you see the browse, you will check, you will see that this file has 4 columns, they call it 4 fields, and this file have 11,283 records or lines. And here you see the record number, the vendor ID. The record number is created usually by Alteryx. The vendor ID, you can see it here, it's a string field. Then create date, and create date also, it's a string. And this is what I'm going to do it next, is how to change a string field into date time field. And then we will go for the status here. The status, as you can see, it's active or deleted or inactive and so on. And this is also a string. And the last one, the vendor name. And the vendor name, it has some issues like see. Some of the names, they have commas, some they are lowercase, some they are uppercase, some they have spaces. So we need to format the vendor names. So let me go first to the date. So how can I change this date, create date? I go to the, parse, and then you drag the date time and you connect it here to the input. And once you do that, make sure to change the string to date time and make sure to select the field create date because it will give you the option to choose either vendor ID, create data status, or whatever. So you choose create date, and then you make a new name for the new field that you will create. I put it create date almost the same as the old one, but I put underscore between the two words. And then it will ask you, Alteryx will ask, how is the format of the original column here? As you can see, it has 2 digits for the month, then 2 digits for the day, and 4 digits for the year. So the format, I put it here, not for the output field, but for the input. The output is a standard by Alteryx, by the way. Alteryx will put usually the year, followed by the month, and then the day. This is the standard format in Alteryx. Can we change the standard format? Yes, it is. We can do that, but I'm not going to go through it in this short project. But there is an option that you can change this format also into a date with using formula equation. Now, once we do that, and then we need to make a label. So please remember, for any tool you use it, you have to create a label. How can we create a label for that? I go here, and you see this label icon. you create it here and you add up this text. So this text, you write it yourself, uploading the vendors list. When you go to browse, you do the same, identifying the field type. And you don't have to write the same thing I am doing. What I'm trying to do is to tell myself in the future, if I open this workflow, what did I do? Or if I share my workflow with one of my colleagues, he will know what I meant by each one of those tools. So we put this brief explanation to remind ourselves and share the information with others. So here for the date time, I go to the label and I say convert the date. Since it's only one date, I put it date. If there are several dates, you can put it invoice date, create date, birth date, whatever. So here I put converting the date. And now I need to remove the old one. I need to remove this old create date and replace it by the new one. To do that, then I go to preparation and then I choose select, which has the tick mark, this one. So you drag down select here, and then select will give you the option. If you click on this gear, it will give you the configuration. What I did, I untick the old one, and the create date, you will see it's at the bottom. I moved it up, and then I call it create date, and here you can see the format is date instead of the V string. And now, if I check here, you will see that I have vendor ID, the new create date, status, and vendor are the same. To double check my work, and by the way, before you leave select, you go to the label and you add here, replace the old create date with a new one. Then we move to the browse. So I go back to in, out, drag browse, and connect it to select. I would like to check if the new field has a different format. If you go to create date, it doesn't have ABC anymore here. It has the calendar icon, which means the field has been changed from string to date. So now I'm in a good shape, and now I need to do some data cleansing for the vendor name, which is this one. How can I do the data cleansing? I go to preparation, and you can see this clean glass icon. We move it here, and then we choose the settings here. So when you open up the menu, you will see all the fields here have been ticked. You just need to tick only the vendor name. Because what I need is to clean up only one field, the vendor name. What do I need to do? First, remove the tick before the replace and these two replace nodes, and then put a tick on leading next to leading and trailing white space and another tick next to tabs. And then tick next to punctuation, which means Alteryx will remove all the white spaces, all the tabs, all the commas, all the periods, and modify the format of the text to be uppercase for everything, as you can see here. Once we do that, you can go down to the label and write here, cleaning the vendor names. So now we are good to go. And now you might see here, it's a big report, so I'm not going to dive into it, but I know that this report has some vendors have been repeated. So now I need to split the 11,283 records into unique record, as you can see it here, unique, and the duplicated records, we keep them aside. So how can I get this one, the unique? You go under preparation, and the last one on the right here, you get it and drag it down. When you click here, you will see the title unique, and then here you choose vendor ID. So we will remove any vendor ID has been repeated more than one time. Why do we go by the vendor ID? Because the name might be slightly different, but the vendor ID will never be the same for two different vendors. It's going to be a unique ID for every vendor. So when we do that, we will see the unique record of vendors is 11,241, and 42 records have been repeated. So I get the unique one, and this would be my input for step 3. Once I finish doing all the work here, I make highlight and then drag and try to highlight all the tools here. Once you highlight all the tools, you can make right click and it will give you the option to add a container. So here you stand on any one of these tools, you make right click, you will see here, add a new container. And this is what I added. So this rectangle that has aqua color, this we call it a container. For this container, if you make double click on the title, it will give you the option, or you can write the title here. Step 1, and then you write the title. I prefer to put different color for each container. So in the future, it will be easy for you and your colleagues to review the workflow without having lots of icons in one space. So if you click on the ellipses here, it will give you the option to choose the background color. You don't have to use the same color, but I recommend that you use any color you prefer. And it's recommended that you make the color one time, so we don't repeat the same color for all the 4 steps. So now I'm good to go for the first step. I will minimize it to save the space on the screen, and I will jump to the second one. The second one, it's a CSV file. Also, it's an input. And as you can see from this one, it has 18 fields. It means 18 columns. And I will lift it up here so I can drag the table and you can see. So what do we have here? We have 8,649 records, and those are for vendors. But the format of this file is slightly different from the other ones. The previous one for the vendor, it has 4 columns. But here you can see long text, then entity number, then type, then programs. And then if you scroll down, you see here some names with quotation signs. And then we see titles. Then we see the addresses where you can see here 2 quotations. And then we see some letters. And then we see lots of other empty spaces. Then we see all names. And here you can see the date. Look how the date is made, dates of birth instead of date of birth, nationality, and so on. And you can see a null here. So honestly, the format in this file is not standardized, but I don't need to worry about. There is different ways to reformat this file, but for the sake of this project, I'm gonna only change the format of one field, which is the dates of birth here. And if you check the steps, I'm gonna use it here exactly or very close to the steps of step 1. Why I'm doing that? Because I believe in learning by repetition. When we repeat the same thing twice, then our minds will remember. So I put the file here, I drag the in out. So as I did in the previous step, so I drag the input, and then I set up the connection, and then I go to the file, and then I drag the file, and usually this file will be given on bright space, you drag it and drop it here. Once you do that, then you will run, and make sure, by the way, after every step to run so the workflow can be updated. We go here to the label and we write uploading the consolidated screen list. And then we browse the file so we can see what's inside. As you can see, we have 18 fields, which 18 different columns here. And the majority of them, they are ABC. I think all of them ABC are strings. So what I need to do in this file is I go to the dates of birth, which is towards the end, this one, and it change it from being a string into a date type field. And I will choose the same one, date time, from parse. We drag date time, and we put it here. And we do the same, a string to date time format, the old column dates of birth, the new one, I will call it date without S of birth, so I can distinguish between the old one and the new one. The format of the old column, as you can see, it's year, month, day, which is okay. And when I click here, I will see the date of birth has been created. Here it was null because in this date of birth, there was no text, it was a name. So you can see there is a null has been created, which is fine. My point is to change the string field into date time, you need to use the date time tool. The next thing, I will go to select and I will do the same as I did in step 1. I will remove the old format field, which is date of birth, and then take the date of birth, which here has been changed into a date type field. And to double check that I did right, then you can go down here and you will see the date of birth has been changed from ABC to date type. And I repeat it again, please remember after every tool usage, make sure to put an explanation. You will be graded for that. So you need to go to the label and create a label for every tool to explain what you have done in this tool or in this step. Then once we have finished, then we need to put our own record unique number, which we call it record ID. We get the record ID from the preparation palette. And as you can see it here, it's 1 to 3, identifying the records. So here for the setting, I will go by record ID. We start by number 1, and I will put it in the first column. And as you can see, so what is the difference between two fields? This one has been created automatically with the file whenever we upload it on Alteryx, but this one will stay with us, the record ID. So if I decide to move this file into Excel, I will see this one that I created, but I will not be able to see the first one. So you can see that both of them are same, but this one cannot be removed from Alteryx. This one can be removed. So this will show you how to create a record ID. The last one is to clean up the vendor name because I need to join the vendors from the previous step with the vendors here. So I better clean up the vendor name. However, the vendor name in the second file here is not called vendor name, it's called name. And this is what I'm gonna do it now. So I will go to preparation, select data cleansing, put it here, and then we'll do the same. So when you open up the data cleansing tool, you will see all these squares have been ticked. Please remove all of them. So you need to clear all of them and select only name. And you do the same thing we did it to the vendor name in the previous step. So here we remove the tick from the replacement of null. We put a tick next to the leading tabs punctuation upper case to modify the case. And then when we check here, we will see that all the names have been capitalized. So before the running, you will see there are some quotation here and some comma. After the cleaning, all this punctuation have been removed. And now we have the clean standardized name. Why I do that? Because I will go here and join the unique vendor from the vendor list with the unique vendor from the consolidated list and see which one is in the screen list, but is still active and doing some business. And this is the whole theme of the project. Remember, once you finish the last step of data cleansing, you drag to highlight all the tools, you stand on any tool and make right click, and it will give you here, add to new container. Please select this option, don't select add to new control container. So we always go for the new container. And once we click the new container here, because I did it, I'm not gonna repeat it again. So if you stand on the label here and you make double click, it will give you the option to edit in this space, or you can edit it here. And then go to the ellipses, choose a color for the background. So right now I did a step 1, where I clean the vendors list. Step 2, clean the consolidated screen list. And now we go to step 3, where we can join the two lists. How can we do it? It's here. As you can see, join, we click, and here we get the first one vendor list into the left side, and then the right side, and then we click on join. So how can I join the two files? There is one column is repeated in both of them. In the left database called vendor name. In the right database, it's called name. We combine both of them. And here, make sure to write the explanation or the annotation, join the two fields. And you can see that we will join all of them here. Let me show it to you. So here, all the two fields from both files have been joined. So you will see that our new joined database, it's quite big. Okay. So here I had 19 fields from this file coming. And here I had 4. If you remember, when I add 4 plus 19, the new joined file will have 23 fields. But how many vendors are coming from the screen list and is still active? Only 10. And this is what I care about. J is for joined. L is for the left database that was not joined. R, it's for the right database which has not been joined on. So from the two long files, I was able to identify 10 suspect vendors. And then for those ones, I need to sort them. How can I sort them? You can go to preparation, and then you can see it here, the tool sort. And as I said, if you click on any of these one and you open an example, then it will give you an example and how to use each tool. So Alteryx is very good because once I do all these tools and I understand them, if I get a new list from vendor or a new list for consolidated screen list, what I need to do, just put them in the input. And then all the steps are already saved and can be run again. So for the sort here, we will go for sorting by create date descending. If you remember the create date, I made it in the first list here. So now I just need to see them by the create date. And descending, you go from the latest to the oldest. So you can see they have been sorted. And finally, I need to remove the empty spaces. So here you can see the end date is empty. I don't need it. And also the title, I don't need it. So if I untick any of these columns, it will not show up in the new file. So you might see there is no difference between the output here and the output here, except for those two files. You see here, title is empty. So I removed it and the end date. And once I finish, remember to highlight the 3. And then you stand on any one of those tools. You make right click at the new container and then do the same and make a label for the container. Once we finish, we create the last step where we need to take this file and then put it in the output. To get the output, you go in, out, and you see the output. Here you drag it, you keep it here, and then it will ask you to set up the connection. Where would you like to save this file? If you set up the file, here, I need to tell Alteryx which format I need it for the output file and where would I like to save it. I need you to use Excel, Microsoft Excel, and then it will give you the option. You choose sheet 1 and then you save it. And at the end of the day, you need to send me this Excel file on Brightspace. How can I save this workflow? I have done all the steps, as you can see them here. And if you want to double check your work before you save everything, make sure that you check the title, check all the 4 steps. For every tool, there is an explanation. So please don't forget the explanation. And how to save this file, you go to File, then Save As, then Browse. So here you save it as it is, but you see the extension for this file, it's YXMD for the workflow. Once you save this one, it will be saved. Then you go to Options, then Export Workflow. So first you save the workflow, but you need to export it to me. How to export it? You go to Browse here, And here you will export it as a package. What is the difference between YXMD and YXZP, which is for zip file? The package will come to me as a workflow along with the two CSV files. So I know that you have used the files I gave you and you created the workflow. And at the end, you need to upload this package, which you can save it in your desktop along with the Excel file, and then send it on Brightspace. So once you choose it, you click save. It will take a minute to save the package, and then you are good to go. I hope you enjoy this short project. It's very nice, and Alteryx now, it becomes very popular, and it gives a free certification by giving you like short exams as a students, and this will make you certified in Alteryx. One of them is called Micro Credential. You can check it out on our community. It's free. It has, I think, 40 multiple choice questions that can make you a certified user in Alteryx. And this can open the door for you if you apply for a job that they need somebody who knows data analytics. Good luck. Bye.